Yeah? Is that good? In the back? Okay? All right, here we go. So, what to say? So yesterday I was playing around with ideas about what awareness is. And so I was offering that, the model of foreground, background. Again, we're very good at manipulating objects or getting caught up in thoughts and emotions. So our attention is very much taken up with the khandhas in the Pali, or with objective reality, with our thoughts and emotions and projects and devices, and we sometimes just fail to see that awareness itself is a kind of mystery. That consciousness is a mystery, and we don't tend to turn towards awareness. Our attention tends to be in objects. It has to be. You have to survive. So what I was just trying to indicate is that without awareness, you wouldn't be able to notice change. You wouldn't be able to see something transitioning to something else. You wouldn't know difference. You wouldn't know the difference between chocolate and the perfume of a rose. There'd be no way of knowing that. The taste of chocolate cannot know the smell of a rose. They're independent. So what makes it possible is awareness. So my reference in kind of the project of enlightenment is that anything that's conditioned has value only in a relative sense, but is always sort of tentative. But that which is unconditioned is the realization of peace and freedom. And so yesterday I was using sound. So if you listen to sound now, sound is changing. Now to listen to sound, again I'll just go through that. To listen to sound you have to be quiet. You have to do it. But the doing isn't like getting anything, it's just like relaxing into knowing this present moment as it is. So you have sound. You have someone over there doing something. You have someone coughing. So that's moving, changing, correct? But what is unchanging? It seems to me it's awareness, silence, knowing, consciousness. And then I asked you to kind of just feel your body in some way. So if I squeeze my hands right now, I feel pressure, right? But there's still the silent knowing. So sense-based changes from sound to bodily feeling. Awareness doesn't change. Awareness knows. And so yesterday I was trying to encourage that awakening. So the basis of liberation, I would say, is the awake mind. And that's not really so much of an attainment as, I think, an understanding. When I ask you to listen to sound, and you stop and actually listen, then you are awake, correct? You know what's going on. You're not making a problem out of it. You're not making anything out of it because you've let go of judgment and you're receptive and awake. And things right effort can come from that. Right attitude can come from that. Samadhi can come from that. But if we don't understand that, quite often we're just trying to get something, trying to get rid of something, and we don't really awaken the mind. We might be very diligent. So without that step, I think things just don't work. Once you understand that, then you can play around a bit. Okay, the mind is awake now. It's like this. And you can apply that spacious knowing to an object. So I said, okay, I'll just sustain this knowing awareness for one in-breath, one out-breath. You're not trying to control anything, you're just awakening and then sustaining the awake mind. So the skill that I'm encouraging is the skill of sustaining awake consciousness. And how do you do that? Or conversely, where is that difficult? I mean, that's quite often what we're working with. Why is it difficult to just not be present with the way things are? And then the emotions and thoughts and habits. And I think we all notice that where our attention gets, shall we say, kidnapped, is in thinking and emotions, where we just find ourselves worrying about something or fantasizing, and attention then is preoccupied. It's not available to the silence. When we can let go of that, it's available to the silence. We can abide as witness, as knowing. And then that silence begins to envelop us. We begin to sense that is the goal, really, that kind of deep, deep silence. So one of the things I've always found useful in that skill of if I could say, the skill of sustaining awake consciousness for spans of time. If you understand that, if you understand what I mean, then that's where I would talk about right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Those three are what you're always working with. Right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So when I listen, and it's very simple, I listen, and the mind is receptive, it knows. There's no ego going on. There's no desire to get anything. Now how can I sustain that for 2 minutes, 2 days, 2 hours, however? Taking that model, what I find helpful is how can I shift attention away from thinking? Because thinking is so habitual and compulsive, I suppose. So I found very, very helpful to shift attention from the head to the heart. And that's almost a cliche. You see so much in his head, why doesn't it get into his heart? But to me, it's also a reality that I can experience life through thought, and through that way. And sometimes I have to analyze a problem. But much of thinking is actually just mostly garbage. It's not. Most of it's not very significant. I don't know about you. And much of it is just habit. So the more one awakens to thought as an object, and is no longer the thinking subject, then there's an opportunity to maybe shift attention away from the habits of thinking into the heart. And I find that really, really fruitful. And that takes me more to that kind of background silence. So that we could maybe kind of play around with that today, if you're up for it. If I am awake to the way things are, and I find that then the mind is shifting towards fantasizing or going shopping on the internet or something like that, or resenting, if I'm really awake, I can say, don't go there. Don't pick up the world. Let go of the world. If I'm not awake, I just get caught up into it. But at some point I notice. So that very suggestion, don't go there, it's not like a judgment or a rejection or trying to get rid of something. It comes from a fully awake mind. I really know, okay, the mind is fantasizing now. Oh, don't go there. Giving up. That's not repression. That's not vibhava tanha. Trying to get rid of thought is vibhava tanha. So that's one of the things you have to figure out. What's the difference between letting go and trying to get rid of? And only each of us as individuals can figure that out. If I'm trying to get rid of thought, thought will dominate because it'll just come back up. But if I don't make any kind of effort, then of course thought also dominates. So what is the difference between repressing thought, trying to get rid of thought, and awakening to the fact that there is thinking, and don't go there. Don't go there, don't go there, don't go there. That to me is an aspect of letting go. And one of the ways I do that is to notice that the thinking mind is operating, and then to try to bring my attention to the heart chakra, just to that center, just kind of down from the head to the heart. And then I find that it's very relaxing. But it's done in full awakeness. It's not done as a repressive measure. So perhaps this morning we could do that kind of a meditation. When I was a young monk, I sort of had an intuition that, well, like we all do, that love is a very, very important part of freedom. And love we define as the Brahmaviharas in Theravada Buddhism. And it's not relationship love. It's not romantic love. And it's not the love of fish and chips. It's a different kind of thing. Yes, I'm sure you know. If you think about metta bhavana, it's an acceptance of all things and a rejection of none. It's not a condoning or agreeing with anything. And if awareness does not have that, you might call it love or acceptance, if it doesn't have that, it can't be awareness. Because there'll always be some judgmental perspective and bias, which would be interpreting life through that bias. So true awareness to me and metta are really conjoined. Now, if you see metta bhavana as just having loving feelings, then that doesn't work, right? So what if metta is not so much a loving feeling, but it's an attitude? It's a kind of open-hearted welcoming of the way things are. Then you could see how that makes sense in terms of your own anger. If I feel annoyed at you, and then I simply indulge in annoyance and yell at you, that's a disaster. But also, if I feel annoyed at you and I can't accept it as a sankhara, as an object in nature, I'm bound by my own self-judgments. So I hate myself or I feel guilty. But if you think about stream of consciousness, how our inner world works, one cause creates another condition, cause, result. So if annoyance comes up into my mind, and then I judge myself, you shouldn't be annoyed, then that is more aversion, isn't it? That judgment is an aversion. So I actually compound interest there. The aversion becomes even more averse. If I just get lost in it, sure, then we understand that part. If I just get lost in the annoyance, that's more annoyance. But the part that we don't understand is that if my attitude, I think we do understand it, but if my attitude towards aversion is acceptance, then what's stream of consciousness doing? It's abiding more as loving, peaceful acceptance of the way things are. This is how annoyance ends, not through rejection. So you have to be very mindful to do that. So annoyance arises in the mind, and then you either are inadvertent or you judge yourself, but the sense of awakening, annoyance feels this way, and I'll be patient. That is the liberation from consciousness of the tendency towards annoyance. To me, it only makes sense, because the next mind moment is actually kindness towards the annoyance. If you take on a very idealistic model of Buddhism, and you create a kind of idealized image of what you should be, which we do, and then your emotional life doesn't match up to your idealized projection of what you should be, you suffer. Because I shouldn't be this way. But in terms of Dhamma, you are none of that. You are not the annoyance. You're not your memories. You are awareness itself. And so as annoyance comes through, it's the non-identity with annoyance, the non-grasping of it, the non-attachment to it that's important. And non-attachment does not mean that you don't have emotions. Sometimes as Buddhists we make a mistake to think when an emotion arises, a negative emotion, say, that I'm wrong in some way. No, it's just nature. Annoyance is natural. Fear is natural. Infatuation is natural. They're all part of nature. So going back to that idea, then if I whatever I feel, if I can start to abide and rest my attention here, I can do that. I know the way things are. I can direct my attention. I can say, don't go there. I say, how about going here? I can direct my attention. And I found that it took me a long time to come alive here. I was pretty dead here. I was too alive up here, or too obsessed with thinking. And Ajahn Chah said, you think too much. Don't read for 5 years. Huh? I love reading. He really said that. And you could see that I was just, I was too clever, as it were. Too much thinking. And so I tried to develop, through the suggestions of my teachers, metta bhavana. But when I tried to do the kind of dualistic metta bhavana, I found that I just sometimes would feel guilty because I couldn't always feel compassion for my brothers, who sometimes I was annoyed at for my own kilesas, but whatever. And then Luang Por said, no, metta is an attitude. It's an attitude to all things at all times. Oh yeah, okay. And then I started to explore, where is that? And to me it seemed that it's here. So I'll do that a lot. If I'm just in the car and my mind's going to thought, I'll say, no, come back to the heart. And just relax there. There's a sense of resting and relaxing there. If I'm discussing something and my attention's going up into thought, I'll try, no, come here and receive the person in your heart. I find it very, very kind of profitable area to abide in. So this meditation, I thought we could set it up the same way, try to get the sense of background, foreground. Use breathing at the chest, and then on the in-breath, bring in an image of someone you love. Out-breath, wish them well. So I typically use to say Luang Por Smedo, Luang Por on the in-breath, felt at the chest, may you be well. Luang Por, may you be well. Luang Por, may you be well. So what I'm using is associative memory. So as soon as I think of Luang Por Smedo, I have tremendous gratitude and love. Very easy to just click into. So it's no longer him as a person. He is the kind of vehicle for the heart being open. And then I'll suggest we do that for a while with one person. And then you go to another person. And the thing about bringing up another person, it's like the refresh on your website. And you press the refresh button. You go, oh yeah, I remember what this is about. Because we get very bored, actually, very quickly. So you bring up another person who it's easy to think kind thoughts about, and so whoever it is, on the in-breath, may you be well. And again, the heart is reminded. It's always there. It's not, it's not foreign. It's just we kind of forget. So what you want to do is find reminders of the heart opening. And sometimes, of course, the patterns are you pick up a neutral person and you pick up the person you hate. I suggest don't do that for a while. Just get the heart really open. Don't think you have to sort out all your relationships today. And to really just kind of really get a feeling for the heart being open is very, very helpful. Okay, with all that in mind, stretch your legs and we'll then sit for 45 minutes with some instruction. Oh yeah, thank you. So set up your posture. And it's always good just to take time with the body. So generally, if in the sitting posture, you want your hips to be higher than your knees. If your hips are lower than your knees, that puts a lot of stress on the small of the back. Hence we use zafus and cushions. If you're using a chair, like I've got really long legs, so high chairs are helpful for me, so that my hips are just slightly higher than my knees. That propels the back forward and helps you in your posture. Now listen to sound. Now let go of thought, let go of the past and future, and just listen. Let the thoughts come to you. Receptive awareness. The silence of knowing. And the kind of language I've been suggesting, non-becoming, not looking for something, but looking at what is. Listening to what is. So we're emphasizing the listening rather than the particular sounds, receptive listening. Bring attention to your body, bring attention to your breathing. Feel the breath. Take a few deep in-breaths just to get in contact with the breathing. And really feel the chest expanding. And let the breath be normal. Bring attention to the center of the chest. Feel the rising and falling of the chest with the breath. Feel the in-breath at the chest. Feel the out-breath at the chest. On the in-breath, visualize or name a person you love. And then let the name trigger that sense of open-heartedness, of love, in the center of the chest. So I use Luang Por Sumedo, Luang Por on the in-breath. And the out-breath, may you be well. So we're not thinking about these folk, but we're using that heart memory that we have of people we love. So it's just the name, feeling at the heart, Luang Por, may you be well. Do that with one person for a while. And if your mind wanders, then you keep the name going for the whole in-breath. And just fill up your being with kindness. And then give that back out. May you be well. Then shift to another person. Again, on the in-breath, name or visualize them and connect to that heartfelt memory you have of them at the center of the chest. So if I say, Venerable Amasiri, on the in-breath, may you be well. same pattern. And if you're getting sleepy, then make that in-breath longer and that welcoming kind of more obvious. And a third person. You notice how in the beginning you're interested in the person and the mind gets disinterested. So you refresh that heartfelt attitude with another image, another person. But you're not thinking about them. It's not cognitive kind of historical remembrance. It's just the heart. So on the in-breath, the person's name and image. Out-breath, may you be well. Stay centered at the chest. So that at some point you can let go of the names, or you can just repeat a cycle of names several times. But what I'm kind of asking is, then can you set up an awareness which is welcoming now? So letting go of the imagery, just get a sense of welcoming the in-breath and letting go of the out-breath at the chest. And so what I'm pointing to is a welcoming awareness, a welcoming attention, rather than a kind of controlling concentration. So welcoming the in-breath, letting go of the out-breath, and full awareness now, full knowing of the way things are in the present moment. So not so much trying to control, but just awakened presence, open-hearted, welcoming the in-breath and letting go of the out-breath. So I'll leave the instructions there. If you want to return to the imagery, you can. If you use metta bhavana in other ways, that's fine. But what I'm really hoping for is this sort of open, attentive, welcoming awareness. And with dullness, again, the thing is to keep your chest open and your head in line with the neck. So when dullness comes, sometimes this practice of metta with the breath is too subtle. You have to change to something more obvious posture. Shoulders, open chest, tall posture, back of the neck, chin, these areas. And then watch the head drop and then bring it back up. But if you can stay with the metta bhavana, that open-hearted awareness, that would be good. So in breath meditation, you're trying to bring a sense of composure and silent attention. And the thinking mind, you don't try to get rid of it, just see that the thinking mind's very scattered. So just notice the thinking mind and then compose and collect awareness with one in-breath, awakened awareness with one out-breath. So it's a training in skill, rather than accomplishment you're trying to achieve. It's just a skillful training. And then the kindness is the right attitude, the kind attitude to the project, to the practice. Stretch your legs a bit. I'll say a few more words because I have to then disappear from my dana. You know that phrase from Ajahn Chah? If your meditation makes you peaceful, then accept it. If your meditation doesn't make you peaceful, then accept it. It's like this. If you want to meditate, meditate. If you don't want to meditate, meditate. I used to say that. So your meditation might be restless, but maybe in the context of a larger of the mind, the fact that you are aware of restlessness allows the habit of restlessness to lessen in your mind, and you get a good result at the end of the day. So be careful not to judge a particular meditation as being good or bad. Obviously pleasant and unpleasant is true, but you often don't know that maybe you're releasing energy or you have some difficult material you need to be attentive to, aware of, and actually then you're practicing, developing awareness as opposed to just having some kind of pleasant experience. But in terms of metta bhavana, the practices of kindness, they're really applicable to all the areas of our habits of vibhava tanha. Vibhava tanha, I don't know if you're aware of the Pali. Vibhava tanha is the desire to get rid of. Repression, suppression, annihilation, not wanting to get rid of. And that's one of the three forms of craving. And metta obviously would be a good thing to introduce as an attitude to all those areas that I don't want, the emotions that I don't want. So if I have some emotion like jealousy, who wants to be jealous? And yet it might arise. And then it's very common then to feel the jealousy. Because you're a good person, you're not going to indulge in it. You feel it and you think, oh, that's terrible, I shouldn't be jealous, and try to get rid of it. That's vibhava tanha. And there's so much in our emotional life and psychological life and physical life that's unpleasant. It's just the way it is. So one of the last few years I've been introducing 3 phrases to people that is a bit sentimental and smarmy, so you might not like it, but I'll give it a go. So first of all, you kind of have to know yourself, don't you? You have to have a kind of a sense of how the ego manifests around mindsets, and the egotistical, like egotism, self-hatred is a kind of egotism. there can be egotism, which is arrogant, but also self-disparaging. It's still a sense of me being whatever I want. It's still a sense of I, attavada, sakaya ditti, personality view. And it might seem quite appropriate, but it's still, whether I hate you or hate myself, it's still hatred. Whether I judge you harshly or judge myself harshly, it's still judgment. And those can be very insidious. So metta bhavana is a way of trying to bring an attitude of kindness to that very judgmental, self-disparaging, self-critical attitude that we might suffer from. So the three phases are, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. And they're very smarmy now and sentimental, but I'm an old man, I'm allowed to do this now. I couldn't do it as a young monk, I had to be very tough, you see. But actually, if you take on board this suggestion I made yesterday, that we can use language to bring up a tone or attitude into the mind. So language can be descriptive, it can be expletive, it can be, you use language in all kinds of ways. Now I'm suggesting using attitude language. So like if you play tennis and your coach says, get to the net faster, that kind of tells you what to do. So these three phrases, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you, you can apply them to each time a thought comes up. And then so that you find yourself thinking about family or whatever, and then there's a tendency to try to get around, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. Then you might think, well, I'm not getting anywhere in this meditation, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. When is the sitting going to end? I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. There's no more salad left. I love you, I always love you. And, after a while, you don't know who's loving who. It's a very interesting kind of thing to play with. Now, if you take it, romantically, it's something silly in that way, but love is a powerful word. I don't know, like in Singapore culture, like the word, like I'm raised in an English culture, so metta, although I've been using it for 50 years, is still somewhat it doesn't have the power of the word love, because much of our language comes when we're much, much younger. So I certainly use that word metta, but love is a powerful word. But also it's a kind of strange word, because I love my parents, I love my hockey team, I love fish and chips, I'd love to get enlightened. So it's a kind of meaningless word too, because we're using such a broad range of possibilities, and yet it is important, I think. So when you raise the word love into consciousness, to me at least, it does have a kind of effect. Love, it's different than hate, love. And then when I use I and you, that has a combination of words which emotes something. So rather than like, who do you love and who's saying what to whom, and should you apply this to your mind or your what? That's thought. So this is like a mantric attitude, so we say. I don't know how to describe it, but you might just try that. Kind of your meditation feels like it's pathetic. You could say, oh, pathetic feels this way. That's one way of doing it. Or you say, I love you, I've always loved you, I always love you. So what you're doing is you're doing it in full consciousness, yeah? So you're actually establishing presence and awareness. And then you're not rejecting anything. You're not making a judgment, and yet you are taking responsibility by being present. You might try that. You can apply it to other people, but I'm applying it to stream of consciousness. So remember, in Buddhism, we talk about the world in two ways. There's the conventional world of Viradhammo, having a Canadian passport, living in Canada, traveling here and then traveling there. That's the world of time and space and geography and history, the conventional world where we talk about sila and dana, social responsibility, social justice, and such like. And then, of course, the world is also referenced as that which arises in the sense experience. So it's the world of feelings, the world of perceptions, the world of concepts, the world of memories, the world of sense data, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, arising and ceasing in this fathom-long body. And I refer to that as stream of consciousness. So not only do you have a world, a kind of conventional world, you always have an individual stream of consciousness, right? Your memories are not my memories. Your bodily feelings are not my bodily feelings. And the thing is about stream of consciousness, you can know that because it's an object. I can know that I'm upset, or I can know that I'm feeling peaceful. I can know that. I can know I have a pain in my right knee. I can know that I enjoyed drinking a cup of coffee or something like that. So this stream of consciousness are events coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. And in that stream of events, some are pleasant and unpleasant. It's the nature of consciousness. And obviously, as normal human beings, we try to perpetuate the pleasant and get rid of the unpleasant, which is biologically necessary. But if that's the only way we know how to operate, we're always hooked into the pleasure-pain principle. We're never free of it. We're always bound by pleasure-pain, and our attention is to maximize pleasure, minimize pain. And that's, again, biologically necessary and sometimes fun, but sometimes not fun. Now, in transcendent realization which is beyond the sense experience, we're trying not to get hooked into the stream of consciousness, and we're trying to see it as anicca, dukkha, anatta, something arising, ceasing, rising, ceasing, rising, ceasing, rising, ceasing, according to causes and conditions. And the hooks are vedana, or pleasant and unpleasant. And the particular hook I'm talking about now is just the sort of judgmental resistance, and it's the dukkha one. So dukkha vedana is the unpleasant part of our life, and that's going to condition trying to go to a pleasant experience. If you have pain, yeah. If you're hungry, yeah. But as a meditator, if you can just witness to dukkha vedana, the feeling of unpleasantness, and not get sucked into the desire to find its opposite, you can find peace. Not in a way you're hurting yourself. So when dukkha vedana arises, rather than trying to get rid of it and go to another experience which is pleasant, you try to just ride it out. Oh, unpleasant feels this way. And then that leads to the cessation of desire. The mind's okay with the unpleasant. But because our like vibhavatana is also very, very quick, sometimes we need to introduce more radical things like, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. And so it's a kind of fun phrase. If you're very, very cynical, you'll hate it. If you're sentimental, you might love it. I love my dog. We have a new dog in the monastery. It's a Bernese mountain dog. Beautiful dog. So we call it our emotional support dog. It's a fabulous dog. Loves to rest in the snow. So that's sentimentality. Oh, Bruno, you're such a nice dog. And you don't want to mistake sentimentality for metta. And if you're very cynical, then, all these cynical people, all they do is watch cat videos. And if you're very sentimental, you watch cat videos. This is just the way we are. But if you see that metta is not sentimental, and it's not relationship love, it's not the love of liking, it's the attitude of awareness, accepting all things, rejecting none. Yeah? So then, maybe this kind of language can kind of be fun or very interesting to introduce. And you just kind of try it. You just say, yeah, and your mind wanders off, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. Now if you can take that phrase and then bring, and say it deliberately, and then notice the silence after the words. This is very, very helpful in use of language to go beyond thought. So you introduce a thought to go beyond thought by noticing the silence after a thought. If we took Luang Por Sumedho's suggestion, it's like this. I imagine some of you listen to Luang Por Sumedho, and his way of teaching now is just to awaken us by the phrase, it's like this. Well, I know it's like this. How else could it be? But that's not the point. It's the silence after the statement. It's like this. And then there's a silent listening. So if you took any phrase, really, Buddho, you could use that. But if you use this phrase, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you, and you just wait in silence. You've kind of set up the heart in an attitude of kindness, and you've entered into the silence of witnessing awareness. And then the mind churns something else up. Yeah, okay, but I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. But I'm not getting anywhere in my practice. This isn't jhana. I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. What's got this to do with Sotapatti? I love you, I will always love you, I will... Is there really rebirth? I love you, I will always love you. I don't believe in rebirth, I love you. Maybe I was a monk in a past life, I love... You just keep going like that. Now, you could use it as also in a kind of trying to get rid of things. So you want to make it sincere and just like pop it into the mind. I've been trying to sell this for the past year. I don't know how good I'm, but it is an interesting one. Give it a go if you want. So listen, I have to kind of disappear. How about your lunch? How about doing walking meditation for, say, 40 minutes? And maybe someone could ring a bell somewhere. And then do some sitting if you want from 11 to 11:30. I think lunch is at 11:30. Okay? So I'll see you next round at 2:15. Training